Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1495. Wow. Today's also pretty special. I gotta wish my mom a happy birthday. I know she's listening. Happy birthday, Mom.
Anything less than extraordinary is a waste of your time.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. I am revved up and so excited to share with you today a very special guest, Laurina Esposito. Laurina Esposito is the daughter of renowned Porsche restoration expert John Esposito. She grew up learning, working on, and driving Porsche cars. 5 years ago, her career was down a very different path before landing on the family business. Laurina worked in high-end fashion and in the music entertainment industry, where she was a professional singer and spent 6+ years in Las Vegas on the Strip singing in shows. She returned to Los Angeles to temporarily work with her father. When he nearly passed, she found herself running the business. She started Women in Porsche, where she aligned herself with other women in the Porsche world, and the effort to grow worldwide has spread throughout the world. Today, her organization is represented in Germany, the UK, Russia, France, Australia, and many other countries. Laurina runs EspoResto along with Women in Porsche, where she supports and represents women in the automotive industry. And a big thanks to Marianne Small for introducing me. We'll be back in just a minute to talk with Laurina, but first, a word from our valued sponsors that make Cars Yeah possible. We'll be right back. Hey, Cars Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Covercraft. I've protected my vehicles with their products for decades. Want to keep your vehicle's interior looking new? It's easy with Covercraft seat covers. They'll protect your seats from the daily abuse of pets, children, weekend adventures, and even those everyday spills. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. All Covercraft seat covers are easy on, easy off design that are machine washable. You can choose from many fabric options, colors, and accessories, all designed and carefully sewn for your special vehicles. Their seat gloves are semi-custom fit for cars and trucks, and their seat savers, a favorite of mine, are custom tailored to fit your seats like a glove. Work truck seat covers are tough, durable, denim weight fabric. It's like putting a pair of rugged jeans on your truck's seats. Want to stay warm? Covercraft also offers seat heaters. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark at Cars Yeah sent you. That's covercraft.com. Are you a Cars Yeah subscriber? If you're not, go to carsyeah.com, click on the free book button, and I'll send you my free Filler Up book. It's a very cool book I created of fuel filler fun, some very cool imagery, and great quotes from past guests here on Cars Yeah. Plus, you'll get my weekly email follow-up and my weekly blog. Just go to carsyeah.com, click on the free book button, and I'll send it to you right away. Thanks for subscribing. Hello, Laurina. Welcome to Cars Yeah. Are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
You bet I am.
All right. I have a feeling you always are because you play and live in the world of Porsches. Tell our listeners a little bit about you, about your business, and the fun that you're having in the world today of Porsche cars.
Yeah, buckled up is definitely part of my job.
I'll bet.
I work with Porsche, like you said. I do restoration work out of North Hollywood. I work with my dad in his business that he started about 13 years ago. So we have been running strong for quite a long time. I'm going on about 5 years now of having been the co-pilot in that world. And started, like you had mentioned at the beginning, Women in Porsche a couple of years ago. Really just in this past year, we've kind of taken things and run with it. And we're launching our chapters, I guess you could call them, this year.
How exciting. Well, I think this is fantastic. Now, I've had hundreds of women on Cars Yeah, and coming up here in the month of March is, of course, Women's History Month. International Women's Day is the 8th. I love supporting women in the industry because women bring a whole different flavor and flair to the automotive industry, and definitely women are growing in this industry as well. So I think this is pretty cool. Plus, I'm a longtime Porsche fanatic, so you and I share something that we are passionate about, and that is Porsche cars. I love old Porsche cars, new Porsche cars, any Porsche car. Yeah, a Porsche tractor would be kind of fun to have, although I'd need a little bigger yard for something like that. Before I jump into the questions here, could you tell our listeners maybe one little thing, and I may have given away the secret in my intro here, that most people don't know about you?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, my past is kind of riddled with all different kinds of things that I've done in the world, and not just in the car industry. I did sing professionally in Las Vegas for about 7 years. I also I used to be a Starbucks barista. So there's that little tidbit of information there.
So you could pull a great drink for me then.
I can. I can make you coffee, drive your car, and I can sing for you while we do it.
Wow. Well, what a treat. Well, I'll have to come and visit you down there in California. I'll bring my turbo and we'll do just that. We'll grab some coffees, go for a drive, and instead of the radio, which I never turn on anyway, I'll just ask you to sing me a song.
Who turns on the radio in a P car anyway?
Okay. Yeah. We've got all the music we need in the back. So absolutely. Well, as we continue on your journey here, I would love for you to share a mantra or a quote, success quote, some kind of saying that has meaning in your life. It's a nice way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars Yeah. So, Laurina, take the wheel.
I actually have two that I kind of run with. Okay. My lifelong favorite quote ever is, anything less than extraordinary is a waste of your time. I think it's important to dive into things with all your heart and do it 100% no matter what. And then what goes with that is you make it work. You just make it work. Yeah. No matter what happens, make it work. Like I always just tell people, if we're faced with challenges, you know what? We're going to make it work. And we always come out on top.
Well, anybody who launched a career in the singing, I mean, that's got to be one of the most challenging things, other than being a professional athlete, perhaps. To take a path down that road and do it for as long as you did, definitely you were pushing up against some challenges maybe here and there. And then to be a woman working in the automotive industry, a whole nother thing, but I love that. You just make it work. Well, tell me a little bit about, and our listeners a little bit about, the restoration business you're in with your dad. How do you guys make it work? What are all the things you guys do?
Yeah, the John Esposito Porsche started with just John working by himself in a one-man stall. He was, just not wanting to work for anybody again, basically. He didn't really want to do work with anybody else. And so he started off on his own venture. And after diving into one car, realized that word had gotten out that he was building cars and doing them well, and kind of just snowballed from there. About 4 years ago, a little less than 4 years ago, we decided that we needed to expand into a bigger space. We were kind of popping at the seams, and we expanded over to a much larger facility, but still in the same neighborhood. And we now have about 36,000 square feet total, multiple buildings, and we are all inclusive. So we do mechanical work, we do body and paint, we facilitate or help with the interior. And, we kind of do one-stop shop, like I said, for everybody to bring their cars in. And so we mainly do Porsche. We do also dabble in some other German work like Volkswagen, BMW, things like that. But we really live in the early 911 and 356 realm.
Some of my favorite years, too. They're wonderful. Very, very cool. Well, let's take a look at some of the roads you've driven down. You made a major career shift. And it was a time when I know your father had a very scary episode. Maybe that's what you want to share here. I always ask my guests for a big challenge or a big failure they faced along the way in their life and in their career. And it's more about how they overcame it and what was the learning lesson there. So walk us through an experience that helped you gain even more momentum in your business, in your career, in your life.
Yeah, what you're referring to, I was kind of... I'd been in the high-end retail game. I worked for some big companies, Tory Burch, Tommy Bahama, places like that. And I was just kind of tired of it. It's a very busy game, and I had just been offered a very large role with a very prestigious company that I called my dad and I went, it's now or never. I'm either going to come out and help you now or I have to take this job. And he was like, you know what, let's try it. And so I turned down this job that I'm still grateful I did today. And I jumped into helping my dad. I thought I was just going to do like some maybe marketing and some, cleaning up the office kind of stuff. And We moved into the new facility in January of 2017, and on February 4th of 2017, my dad ended up in the hospital in very bad state, and he was septic from a really bad bout of pancreatitis, and we almost lost him. And so he was out of the business for a solid 6 months between that and a few other things, and I found myself sort of in the frying pan, and ended up having to deal with running a business that nobody knew I was in, quite frankly.
Yeah, who are you?
I was still very much behind the scenes, and people just didn't really know me or trust me. I was calling customers and saying like, hey, could I get a payment? And people were like, oh, when John's back, maybe I'll do that. And, I just discovered very quickly that there was not a lot of faith in this girl that nobody knew. And I think that it was a twofold. I think it was that they didn't know who I was and hadn't worked with me before, but also I was a girl, and I definitely ran into a lot of the misogyny in this industry that I had never encountered. I was lucky enough that I had never encountered prior to that. In doing so, it's sort of what launched my search for other women in this business. And I wanted to start finding women that I could connect with who were like-minded or who were going through similar challenges. Unfortunately, discovered that there was not a platform for me. Because I couldn't find a preset group of people that did what I did, I started it. So I launched Women in Porsche. I am so glad that I did, and we are going strong. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, it's interesting the roads life takes us down, and I think this is fantastic. And there's a nice correlation here with Porsche. When that great quote by Dr. Porsche said, I couldn't find a sports car I liked well enough, so I built my own. And you did the exact same thing.
Yep.
I think and my hat's off to you. Kudos to what you've done here. And like I said at the beginning, I've had a lot of great women on my show. Many of them have talked about the challenges they face. I know one that there in Los Angeles, Sarah DeCarmen, who lost her husband and found herself running a business that most women are not in that kind of business. Yeah, in taking junked cars and selling parts and so forth, and the challenge she met. In fact, I had her on my Cars Yeah TV show last year. She was the last of 13 shows that we did, and brought her girls in, and we talked about that and the fact that she's taken the reins. But I think it's fantastic what you've done, and sorry for those men who misbehaved. There's always some out there, darn it. But thankfully, my mom taught me better than that. So I think it's fantastic what you've done. We're going to take a really short break, thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for the enthusiast and the collector. It's your monthly must-read whether you dream of owning a collector car, have 2 cars, or 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. Plus, you'll get the exclusive SCM guide to restoration shops included for free. At checkout, use the code CARSYEAH and receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription. It's an exclusive offer from me here at Cars Yeah. I'm Mark Green, and I love Sports Car Market magazine. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. All right, we're back, and I would love for you to share a story that instigated a passion that you have for cars. Obviously, growing up with a dad who's in the industry, that probably added a little flavor to your life. But is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you were going to be a car gal?
Oh, goodness. I would say that that's actually been more recent that I discovered that I really have a strong passion for cars. But going back to one of my earliest memories is of 2 that I'll share with you. I remember very, very early on, my dad used to bring cars home and he'd have them in the driveway. And I was like 1.5. So it was very early. And I used to, squat in diapers next to him while he was under the cars or he was changing a tire. And I really wanted to try to help him with that. I know I was introduced very early to cars and to what they would be in my life. And then my parents got divorced when I was very young. And so my dad used to come out and visit me once a week, and he was always driving something different. And when he would work on cars like that, he would work on Porsches, or he would work on, really cool vintage cars in general. He would always bring them out for me to experience. And so every Wednesday I ended up in a different car, something that was unique or special. And some of my earliest memories are sitting in a 356 next to my dad. My feet didn't even extend past the front seat because they were so little, but I loved it. We would listen to oldies. He always had like Brown Eyed Girl running in the background, and we would
wonderful.
just cruise through, this beautiful Southern California scenery and these great cars. And so I think it was destined to be, but I don't think that I actually realized just how much I loved it until more recently.
Yeah, maybe he was planting some seeds way back
I
in
think
that young,
so.
fertile mind of yours.
He'll
to
say
kind
that.
of get you fired up.
Yeah, he'll say that he always wanted to have somebody to pass this down to, and he didn't even think it would be me. We just both really lived very different lives. And so when I came into the business with him 5 years ago, I think it just surprised both of us. And we're both, every day we look at each other and just go, I can't believe we're here. Because getting to work with your dad and being a part of a business like this it is special. It's exciting.
Absolutely. That's really fun. Well, let's have a little bit more fun here. Talk about your first really special vehicle, that first car in your life that you went, man, I've always wanted something like this. What is it? And maybe share a memory about that ride.
Well, my dad being my dad, he wanted to get me my first car, and he originally gave me the worst car, and I actually drove it once and didn't drive it again. And it was like an old Honda Accord or something, and it was a 2-door hatchback, and it was awful. But we very quickly realized that wasn't going to happen. And for my 18th birthday, as I was getting ready to go to college, he actually gave me a 70s Chevelle. And that was my first real car. It was a white with baby blue interior. And I drove that thing through the city of San Francisco during college. So I used to.
That's a big car to be driving on the streets of San Francisco.
Especially across the Bay Bridge. I used to pile my friends into the back seat, and it was bench seats, so you could get 7 of us in there, and I would pile everybody in, and we'd drive across the bridge and go into the city. And it was some of the most incredible times that I've ever had. But I always had to keep a box of oil in the trunk because I had to put about a quart a day into it because it was so much oil.
And a couple leaks, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit, But hey, it was a good experience and a good way of learning on, sort of on the fly about how to manage your car.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. That sounds like fun. 70 Chevelle. What a classic car. Well, here's a bit of an introspective question for you. I'm going to get into your head a little bit here, Laurina. If you woke up tomorrow and you were a car parked in the garage there where you and your dad work, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself manifested into a vehicle, what would you be and why?
I have a little bit of like an Audrey Hepburn thing going on. And then I also, kind of a mix with sort of a rough and tough around the edges, motorcycle girl, I definitely feel like I cross both spectrums. So I feel like a classic 356 is probably right in line, where you've got a little bit of the rough and tough with the sports car feel. But it just sort of has that old Hollywood class that goes with it.
I like it. Very nicely done. Well, we are entering what I call the last lap. I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to answer these questions with some quick blips of that Porsche 356 throttle. So here we go. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes over the years?
I never say I can't.
Ah, nice. Yeah, what a great way to go through life. How about if I could arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased? Who would it be?
I would love to sit down with Ferdinand Porsche. That would be amazing.
Now, the first one or the son, Ferry Porsche?
I am fascinated by the original designs by Dr. Porsche and the ideas that he had, all going back to Volkswagen and before. So I would love to sit down with him and kind of get an idea of what really started everything. The granddaddy, I guess we could say.
You know what a lot of people don't know is the first real Porsche vehicle was electric. And you think about where we are today with the Taycan and all of that, it's pretty spectacular that we've come full circle back to electric vehicles now.
I
and where we're going
know.
with electric vehicles. So, everything old is new again. It just takes time sometimes.
It all cycles back. Yep.
Absolutely. How about the best automotive advice you've ever received?
You don't know everything. My dad always says, like, you don't know. Like a lot of times people come in and they go, well, that should be this and this should be that. And that was this way on this Porsche. And we always go, but you don't know. Everything was handmade. Everything was handcrafted back then. And, you just don't really know. And there's so many things that we just have to understand that we're still learning.
Yeah, a lot of different things were going on back then. I have a really unique vehicle. It's an 87 Turbo. It was specially ordered paint to sample, which a lot of Porsche people know about, but this is in a non-Porsche color. It's a metallic orange. And they only painted 3 cars this color. And I'll take it to events and people will say, well, when did you have it painted? I said, I didn't. This is original paint from the factory. Oh, no, it isn't. That's not a Porsche color. And I go, well, yeah, it is. Yeah, so you just don't know, And so I've had arguments with people, and I finally go, okay, fine, you're right.
Right.
Whatever.
I know. I've had that same argument, and you just kind of have to either walk away or you can't. I don't like to fight with right fighters. It's like, okay, fine. Yeah. It's not worth it to me to have that argument. I know the truth, but it's okay. If you want to believe that, you believe it. But you're so right. People could do whatever they wanted. And we had a 62 cab in our shop a couple months ago that had a 61 nose, completely different, but it was Draus made, had never been dismantled. And that car forever will have people go, oh, well, that's the wrong hood for that car. And you're like,
somebody swapped it. Yeah. Somebody at the factory.
At the factory, they ran out of hoods and they put that one on. It just is what it is.
Oh, yeah. No, it's very interesting back in the day. And even up until the late 80s, I mean, the way Porsche was building cars, and in 1991, when Porsche really almost went under, and they hired a specialist to come in to talk about how they get parts and so forth. And remember a story where he looked around and said, what are all these parts laying around? They go, well, they're parts for cars. He goes, no, you can't work that way. It's just in time delivery. And, they were putting parts on cars that were from the year before because they had 5 extras. So let's use them up. Don't throw them away.
Exactly.
So, it's quite fascinating, actually. How about a great resource for our listeners that is a go-to for you? Is there one you'd like to share?
My dad.
Your dad.
My dad loves to share. I mean, if you want to pick somebody's brain about the Porsche world or about cars in general, he really is a phenomenal resource. And I owe so much to him, not just about the car industry, but about life in general. I used to call him all the time when I was in management and I was, leading, and I would ask him a lot of questions about that, because having run his own business a couple times now, who better to ask? And probably sounds really cliche, but I couldn't tell you anybody that I've learned more from than John Esposito.
Warms my heart. My daughter's done the same. Will call me over time and, Dad, I'm dealing with an employee who's doing this. And I ran a business for 20 plus years. And well, this is how I would treat that situation. And when I hang up, I always feel so great. It's like, she called me to ask my advice.
Yeah.
He goes the other way around as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can get your dad on the show here. I would love to have your dad be a guest.
I would love to have him do that.
Okay,
yeah.
Well,
he's a great resource.
Yeah, well, I've known the name forever in the Porsche world since I am a Porsche file. So, yeah, I'll look forward to that. Absolutely. How about a book? Is there a book you've read you think our listeners would enjoy reading?
I read a lot of books. I have several that, I go back and forth to.
Doesn't have to be a Porsche book.
My favorite book of all time is The Odyssey. I have numerous copies of it, and I've read it over and over. I've read it in Greek. I just absolutely love it. And I think there's something about the epic tale and the idea of having to go through so much that sticks with me. So if you haven't read The Odyssey and if you aren't familiar with the story, you should be, because if you are not inspired by overcoming that many obstacles in life, then I don't know, you're not living. Yeah.
By that little guy named Homer, I think was his
name,
that wrote that book.
Just some old guy.
Yeah, some old guy somewhere. Yeah, he had friends of Socrates or something. I probably have my dates all wrong, but yeah, it's a great book. It's one of those classics that everybody should read. Usually I think they have you read that in high school or maybe even junior high, but college. And it works today. What's amazing?
The Cliff Notes version of it back then, you know, and then
try to figure out what the heck he's writing. But it's amazing to me, some of these old books, how they still work today. That's what makes them classics for sure. I'll remind our listeners, you can find all these great resources on Laurina's very own Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Laurina, Laurina, Esposito, Esposito. My high school Spanish is failing me here. I got to get better here. It's been way too long since I've been in high school. All right, we are back. We're going to say thank you to a few sponsors here first, though, and then we'll be back with what I call a checkered flag, so sit tight. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Ike and Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Ike and Penny, today. All right, we are up to the checkered flag. And Laurina, I'm going to buy you something very cool today. This last question, though, can be a bit of a doozy. I'm going to buy you any cool collector vintage car that you would like to park in your garage. But there are some rules to this game. One of them is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of other cars with. So if you pick the most expensive car in the world, you got to live with it. You got to drive it. No garage queens allowed around here. But here's the kicker. It's the only one cool collector car that you can have. So what can I buy you?
Oh, goodness. That's such a tough one.
Of course.
You know, I think I would really love an original 901. And, you know, just like to go straight to that route and start at the beginning, you know. But I did have a couple of years back, we had a vintage Steyr in the shop. And it's one of those suicide doors cars, and we had restored it. And that's a really amazing car as well. And they always came in multiple colors, like 2-tone, 3-tone. I think outside of the Porsche world, I would love to get my hands on one of those.
Tell our listeners a little bit about that car, because a lot of people have not heard about those cars. So they're like, what is she talking about?
I know. It's a little bit crazy, right? The Steyr was Steyr Daimler Benz. So you recognize a couple of those names in there.
Oh, yeah.
And they were sort of the granddaddy of the Mercedes-Benz world. And it was, you know, pre-war vehicles as well as wartime vehicles and 1920s, 1930s. And so they were sort of like, you know, the cars of the Uzi days, you know, and they were all steel, very, very heavy duty cars. But there are probably 5 or 6 of them left in the world that are intact. And then there's very few of them that are still being restored, but they're really a neat car.
Wow, that's a surprise answer to that question. No one's ever asked for one of those. So that's what makes you so unique, Laurina. I think that's great. I always think I know how people will answer after talking with them here on Cars Yeah, but many times I'm surprised by their answers. So the Steyr, yeah, very cool. Well, you listeners can look that up. Google that, check out the history of those cars. I think you'll find them to be as unique and special as Laurina is. So very, very cool. Well, you're welcome. You've taken us on a great ride today. This has been fun, and I can't wait to talk to your dad so we'll get the other side of the story here.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can help set that up. I want to thank you for sharing your journey and for what you're doing for the Porsche world and for women out there. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Is there a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance you might offer us before you drive off into the Hollywood Hills and that old Steyr?
You know, I always tell people now, girls can too. It's sort of the, I guess, oldest adage in the book that anybody can do whatever they set their mind to. But I feel like we're in an age where we have to remind people that girls can do it too. And so I like to sort of have it be normal at one point that women are in this business. And so I'm going to take up that fight for right now and help us normalize so that nobody's saying, oh, wow, you know a lot for a girl, but they're saying, wow, you know a lot, and leave it at that.
Absolutely. What are some of the ways people can follow along with what you're doing?
We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. So you can go to Women in Porsche, exactly how it sounds, at either Facebook or Instagram, as well as womeninporsche.org on the internet. Espo Porsche is our company the restoration company. So EspoResto.com or Espo.Porsche on Facebook and Instagram. And you can find us at either of those places.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to put links to all those on Laurina's show notes page. Again, just come over here to carsyeah.com and click on or type in Laurina into the search bar, and that page will pop right up, and you can find all these great resources. And if you're a woman out there, a girl interested in cars, there you go. This is a great group to connect with, learn from, share with. Absolutely fantastic. And if you're a guy, check it out too. I think you're going to be impressed with this lineup of women. Many of them have been guests here on Cars Yeah. Fantastic. Laurina, thanks for being so generous today with your time, your expertise, and for sharing your experiences with our listeners. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. And by the way, happy birthday, Mom. Hey, Cars Yeah listeners, this is Mark Green. If you love the Cars Yeah podcast, I have something new for you. I've teamed up with Keith Martin, a collector car market expert and the editor of Sports Car Market magazine, to create the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast. Buy, Sell, Hold is the essence of collecting. Together, we take you on an educational ride into the collector car market, talking with industry experts, helping you navigate your collector car journey so you know when to buy, sell, hold. We talk with seasoned experts who buy, sell, and hold investment vehicles, and they'll share their insider secrets on how they make their buying decisions when it comes to making these important investments. You'll find the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast on the Cars Yeah website, on the Sports Car Market website, and if you're a podcast app subscriber to Cars Yeah, Buy, Sell, Hold will come right to your mobile device, just like the Cars Yeah podcast. Automatically. Join Keith Martin and me on a great new venture on the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.